Let me tell you a story. This is a story about a girl called Mausi who lived in Prague in the 1920s. A very normal young girl, Mausi loved art and soon realized that she wanted to pursue it as a career. And in 1937 she did so, and she studied it at the prestigious Rota Studio in Prague. This is a story of a very normal young woman who lived in Prague and studied art at university, and we could leave Mausi's story there. But with the German occupation of Czechoslovakia in 1938, everything changed. You see, Mausi was a Czech Jewish artist, and as a result of the Nuremberg race laws, her life became gradually limited. As restrictions closed in around her, perhaps art became a means of survival. Mausi's first direct encounter with the brutality of the Nazi regime was in the Theresienstadt ghetto, a place where around 33,000 people would die of the conditions of disease, hunger, and overwork. And it was in these conditions where art for Mausi became a means of survival, not just beauty. It was a currency in and of itself. She traded drawings for increased food rations and essential products, and thus art evolved to fit Mausi's desperate and horrific circumstances as a means of providing protection. Art for Mausi became a sustaining life force, not only for herself, but also for others. She drew murals of Bambi and Mickey Mouse on the walls of the children's quarters in Auschwitz-Birkenau in 1943. And although these could not guarantee survival by any means, they opened up a realm of childhood otherwise inaccessible to them. And it was in these fleeting moments where children could get a flavor of their childhood back, something which had been completely stripped of them through a process of systematic dehumanization. Her work in the children's quarters caught the attention of higher SS officers and eventually came to the notice of Joseph Mengele. And it was under his orders where she drew, by coercion, precise anatomical drawings in the children's quarters, and it came to the notice of lots and lots of people, and art became reduced to this mechanical technique devoid of the emotive process upon which it thrives upon. Mausi's entanglement with the horrors and depravities of the Nazi regime cannot be clearly navigated. She is neither culpable nor innocent from her actions. They were a means of providing herself with protection in unthinkable conditions. And art is not this clear-cut journey of moral superiority. Oftentimes it is about expressing the self and the self's reactions to extenuating and often uncontrollable reaction. And this is messy and complicated and cannot be separated into clear dichotomies of good and bad, just like Mausi's story. Mausi survived 3 concentration camps: Theresienstadt, Auschwitz-Birkenau, and Bergen-Belsen. After the end of the Second World War in 1945, she married, emigrated to Scotland, and became known as Marianne Grant. When I first stumbled across her story, what really resonated with me was the realization that in a world of unthinkable cruelty, art was able to evolve and shapeshift in response to challenges. Art provides hope. It may not be an impenetrable shield, but it is the thing which shapes human development. Mausi's story has also shown the undoubted importance of art as this evolving witness to humanity. She documented the extreme horror and depravity that humans are capable of enacting, but also the hope and defiant refusal of despair that people have the capacity for. And art is this witness to the nature of humanity itself, something which is both flawed and complex and good and bad in tandem. Art can evolve to fit any situation, as Mausi's story has shown. and this is also apparent in Chris O'Fihely's 1998 No Woman, No Cry. A portrait of Baroness Doreen Lawrence, mother of Stephen Lawrence, a teenager who was killed in a racially provoked attack in London in 1993. It blends lament with joy and individuals with their community. There's this collision of bright colours, glitter, tears, acrylic and phosphorant paint, even elephant dung, which expresses not only hope within grief, but is also this masterpiece of mixed media, combining cultures in this harmonious and ultimately triumphant celebration of the Black British community. Here, art evolved to transcend the boundaries of an extraordinarily tragic and harrowing event. It became the glue piecing a mourning community back together. So, as someone who is not an artist by any means, why am I talking about art today? That's me, by the way. I have always been extremely passionate about the arts, not only about visual art, but also about literature, drama, and music, to name a few. And from a very young age, I was privileged enough to be immersed in this world of art, from traveling to Paris every few months to visit the Musée d'Orsay with my parents, to going to the theatre every Christmas and being a voracious reader and playing the piano for as long as I can remember. And in this way, I developed a high artistic sensitivity. I cannot fathom a world in which art doesn't exist, simply because I have seen so much of it. But I also realized that looking back, I was extremely and uniquely privileged to go and visit the National Gallery half-termly and waltz around Paris every few months. It was an opportunity that not many children had, and something which I am now extremely thankful to my parents for providing me with. So, art has always been a part of my life, but it's not a part of every child's life, and it led me to wonder why. For me, art is what makes us human. Looking back on Mousie and Chris O'Fihely, it helps us thrive and evolve, lament and celebrate. It is a witness to our changing world. But if this is true, then why has it continually been deemed unnecessary in the 21st century? This is an objective fact, by the way. £56 million has been cut from the London art scene in the past 3 years alone. Art has come to be seen as this florid decoration for the elite, rather than what it really is, an intensely human and democratic form of self-expression. And perhaps this has something to do with the perception of exclusivity in the arts sector. Art has become based on a competition to be the best, chasing a monetized model rather than a process with the capacity to unite. And this has been piqued by an increase in isolationism in the 21st century, and art has, to some extent, lost its meaning as a result. It has become associated with people who can afford to interact with art rather than the world that it was first trying to reflect. Art is individuality within a collective. It allows the individual to express their unique experiences and emotions, but this in turn triggers an external response. And in a world where community has become diminished, in a world of increasing isolation and loneliness, maybe art is the answer. Degas once said that art is not what you see, but what you make others see. And despite his questionable moral standing, he has really captured the pure purpose and power of art, connection and healing. There is a reason why so much propaganda is visual-centric. It aims to unite people, and the easiest way to do so is through art. If we look at this political propaganda, particularly conveying these extremist ideals, we can see this quality of art being exploited. Posters from the Second World War were aimed at unifying parts of the population against others. And in this way, the pure purpose and power of art is subverted and corrupted. The power of art cannot be understated. Iconoclasm and a violent reaction against art suggests this. By censoring the arts, communities and their beliefs are also censored as a result. And this ruptures the process of healing and moving forward, essentially stunting human progression. So, when you next walk into a gallery or a museum, listen to music or read a book, please remember that art is more powerful than you think. Attempts to censor and control art will never work. It will always evolve to transcend man-made barriers. I would like to leave you with Olivia Laing's reflections on art in her book, Funny Weather, Art in an Emergency, and her understanding that art is the immense entanglement of everything: politics, history, culture, society. Art really matters. It strips us back to the bare bones of our own vulnerable humanity, something that we must be reminded of today. Thank you.